We all may think that the Nintendo Switch is a bit of a powerhouse for visual novels, but you have no idea. If you check out what's going on in the Far East, those guys are feasting like Henry VIII at a medieval buffet. There's double, triple, quadruple the amount of physical visual novels out over there. Every week you see 2 or 3 brand new visual novels releasing. So just for the fun of it, we made a list of our top 10 picks that we think deserve to be localized. However, there are going to be some rules to better narrow down the list. First of all, these are games that don't have any official localization. Umineko, Higurashi, Symphonic Rain, Daizire, all of them are out. Get the fuck out. We will also be taking out VNs whose PC localization has already been announced, as well as definitive editions of VNs whose main part is already translated, like Summer Pockets for example. Now, the titles in this list were picked out by one of our fellow contributors to the channel, Miguel Marin. He's actually played a handful of the titles in this list, so yeah, I'll be quoting him quite a lot. Without further ado, let's get on with the video. We will start our list with an absolute classic of a visual novel developed by Key, simply called Air. But hold on, Jordan, I hear you say, isn't Air already translated? Well, let's just rewind a little bit. First of all, these are games that don't have any official localization. Official localization. Official. That's right, while Air may be translated, the translation is not official. As for the game's plot, this is the story of a young man that ends up in a small rural town. He has been traveling in search of the girl in the skies because he believes it's fate to rescue her. During his stay in the town, he will get to meet Misuzu, a friendly yet slightly peculiar girl who will offer him to stay in his place for the time being. This is one of the titles Marin has played, so let's hear what he has to say about it. Now actually, I have no idea what Miguel sounds or looks like. I mean, I'm guessing he's Spanish or Portuguese, but I'm not doing a Spanish accent because people will mistake my incompetence for racism. And yeah, I don't know what he looks like, so the visual representation here is just what I like to think he looks like. I often hear Air being considered the black sheep of the Key long-form visual novels, and I find it to be an unfair take on it. I believe out of all of them, Air is the most consistent with its narrative themes. But even beyond that, there's so much love in here, like the great banter between characters or the relaxing atmosphere. In plenty of ways, it feels like the prototype to Clannad, sharing an extremely similar structure with an ending that will certainly destroy your feels. It is a title that shouldn't be missed by any fan of Key's works. Strong words there from Miguel. Moving on to our next game, we have a visual novel published by none other than Nintendo themselves, Buddy Mission Bond. This is the story of Luke, a young police officer with a heart of gold that's been chasing a criminal syndicate organization called Discard. During the game, he will meet 3 more unconventional partners, together forming the Bond team. The game features quite a few gameplay portions where you'll have to first interrogate a handful of witnesses so that you can later sneak your way into enemy territory. The character designs of this game were made by Yusuke Murata, who is well known for his work on One Punch Man. Marin also played this one, and here's what he thought about it. It's shocking to me that there are still no signs of this game being translated. Every time there is a new direct, I'm always telling myself, this time, for sure, they will announce it, but no, here I am still waiting. The production values of this game are simply through the roof. The visual presentation is beautiful, the music sublime, and there's just so much content. While the story itself is a bit predictable, and some of the gameplay portions aren't as complex as I would have liked, the game as a whole is deeply enjoyable, just a really solid recommendation overall. Next up is the most recently released title called Magatsu Barai. This is a visual novel developed by Light, who are well known for their Chunige VNs such as Daizire and the Silverino trilogy. This is the story of a young man who's studying to become a spiritual exorcist when suddenly his peaceful life makes a complete 180 as his academy is assaulted by a mysterious, brutish man. It's then when he meets Jeanne, a demonic deity with the appearance of a young girl that offers him to survive in exchange of breaking the seal that was imprisoning her. This is a story of extremes with completely over-the-top action scenes and plenty of light-hearted humor to go along with it. Actually, this is the visual novel Mirin is currently playing at the moment, and here are his thoughts so far.
This game's fucking nuts.
I guess that's all he wrote. Well, okay. Moving on, Parfait Remake is, well, a remake of Parfait Chocolate Second Brew. I could do with a brew right now. This was a fairly old school visual novel that was originally released in 2005, whereas the remake just came out last year in 2021. It has a really solid reputation in Japan, although here in the West, not that many people know about it. Its main appeal is that it was partially written by Maruto Fumiaki, who is better known for being the writer behind the masterpiece White Album 2. I thought the Beatles wrote their own songs. Anyway, this game is about a young boy who wants to rebuild a cafe the same way his deceased brother left it before it burned down. However, he will face quite a few struggles trying to hire all the staff back and getting the business up and running. It is a story filled with slice of life scenes, but one that's ready to kick you in the feels once you let your guard down. Now this one I just find baffling. How is it possible that Chaos Head Noah, the first installment in the much loved and extremely popular science adventure series, remains to this day without any sort of official translation? Nevertheless, the Switch is getting both it as well as its sequel Chaos Child in a 2-pack combo later this month. This is a science fiction mystery thriller set in current day Tokyo, where a serial murder case happens. As the protagonist Takumi is surfing the web, he receives disturbing images depicting a man pinned to the wall with stakes. He then later encounters that same scenario in real life and sees a girl who seems to be the one behind the murder. The next day at school, that girl sits next to him telling him that they have been friends for over a year, even though he doesn't even know who she is. But oddly enough, his other classmates agree with her. There are two versions of this game, the Switch one being the director's cut release of the main game, originally released in 2009, which included new routes and some story changes. However, regarding a possible translation, I wouldn't completely lose hope on this one. Let's remember that Robotics Nos released similarly on the Switch in Japan first, only to be localized just a year later. Call me an optimist, but I believe this one will eventually happen. So you know when I said we were only going to do 10 games? Well, that is a lie, because our next game is instead a full series of visual novels, those being the Memories Off games. There's quite a few of these released on the Switch, but the main ones are Memories of Historia Collection and Memories of Innocent Philia. The Memories of Historia Collection contains the first 7 main entries divided into 2 volumes. It might honestly be one of the best value packages out there when it comes to VNs, especially the first volume. You're looking at around 250 hours divided into 2 fairly reasonably priced titles. Then, Memories of Innocent Philia is the 8th and last entry in the main series. As for the games themselves, well, it might just be quicker to hear what Miguel has to say about them. Memories Off is a series of Bishoujo games where nothing particularly important ever happens, and that's what makes them so great. The conflict always feels tangible with very little over-dramatization, which for some might be slightly boring, but for me made them that much more relatable. The best thing, however, is how every title appears in the same universe, precisely in the same town. During the games you can see it slowly changing, and often characters from previous titles would make a cameo here and there, or even take a major role in the story. Then the last entry in the series, Innocent Philia, beautifully wraps up everything in a deeply satisfying manner, which is admirable considering the sheer length of the whole franchise. While not every title in the series is a winner, it all ends up being something really special and a collection of games I wish more people could experience. Our next game in this list will actually be an Otome game because we haven't forgot about you Otome fans. That game being Jack Jeanne. Released last year, Jack Jeanne is a combination between a visual novel, rhythm game, and dating simulator. It was written by Sui Ishida, also known for his work with the Tokyo Ghoul manga. It's about a girl that enters a boys-only drama school, having to hide her real gender. While this sort of setting isn't anything new, it was still highly praised by fans for all the fun and interesting situations it created. During the game, you also get to experience yourself the theatre plays that the characters have been rehearsing so much. Of course, as a rhythm game, the music itself had to be of a certain standard. Unfortunately, it didn't disappoint there either. It seems like lately, plenty of Otome visual novels are receiving the localization treatment, so we deeply hope that Jack Jeanne becomes one of them as well. Now let's follow one Otome with another. Tokimeki Memorial Girls Side, Fourth Heart is the latest entry in the Otome side of the legendary Tokimeki Memorial series. This is a dating sim through and through, following the classic formula while incorporating more quality of life elements to be more newcomer friendly. What makes the Tokimeki Memorial series so compelling is how much attention to detail is put into these games. For example, you even get to choose your own attire for your dates, and depending on the combination, you might give one impression or another. Now, unfortunately, for some odd reason, dating simulators are quite unlikely to reach overseas, and to make matters worse, this one is developed and published by Konami, who are known for such great decisions as But hey, let's look at the positive side of things, which is that the series is still alive and well. Our next game is Saiyaku Naru Saiyaku Ningen is... Come on, Miguel. Let's just call it by its common name, Sasagu. This is a bit of a budgetary visual novel published by Kemco and developed by Water Phoenix, also known as a Dead Phoenix, I would guess. Both the scenario and artwork were made by the same person, who goes by the name of R, which gives the visual novel a very personal feel to it. It's the story of an invisible girl and a boy who can only see invisible people, the two of which decide to live together to escape the loneliness. It has received a really favorable reception from those few who have played it, all of them praising how well the complex narrative themes were executed. So let's hope P-Cube or another publisher picks it up and releases an English version. Come on! And finally, the big one. The visual novel that's making visual novel fans all around the globe seriously considering starting to learn Japanese. Of course, it's none other than Tsukihime, A Piece of Blue Glass Moon. This is a remake of the much acclaimed classic visual novel Tsukihime, which was announced more than 10 years ago, only to suddenly release on consoles to the surprise of pretty much everyone. It was developed by Type Moon, who nowadays is better known for the incredibly popular Fate series, which incidentally also began life as a visual novel. For those in the dark, Tsukihime is a horror, mystery, action visual novel where the protagonist Shiki gets involved with a slightly capricious vampire with the goal of eradicating all the vampires lurking in the city. How and why the two of them end up together is better to be experienced firsthand, since the scene in question is now on itself quite prominent in the visual novel world, but the story that follows is as entertaining as it can get. In its current state, the remake only contains 2 out of the 6 promised routes, with the second part of the remake coming sometime in the future. That being said, the length of it ended up being twice the size of the original, even when lacking those other scenarios. And to close this entry, let's hear Miriam's thought on the game. This might sound like a bit of an exaggeration, but as a visual novel fan playing Tsukihime Remake, it was almost a religious experience. Okay, maybe I'm overselling it there a little bit, but there really are few visual novels that even get close to the quality on offer here. The atmosphere, the foreshadowing, the characterization, the music, all of it is simply excellent. On top of that, the actual quality of the writing is also exceptionally high, something I fear might end up being lost in translation. Don't get me wrong, I strongly desire this game to be translated so that everyone can enjoy it, but I want that hypothetical translation to be as perfect as it can possibly be, because this game truly deserves it. And there we have it, 10 visual novels on the Switch we hope will be localized. Would you like to see another list like this in the future with 10 more games? Thanks to Miguel for helping out with this video. Please follow him on Twitter with the links below. Consider checking out some of our other content. We've got a lot of visual novel content out there for you. We've got otomes, we've got reviews, we've got yuris, we've got education lessons. We've got a lot, so go check them out.